Wow. That was the most boring game I have honestly ever watched. No kidding. That was the most boring preseason game I have ever watched. I'm not saying I really expected to be wowed in a preseason game or have a bunch of takeaways from a preseason game, but you expect something. And for your offense to just simply score 0 points and make you wonder even more about certain things leaving a preseason game than before it started, it's a worry. So I'm going to get this quick reaction video out. I'm not going to make this too long because honestly, there's not much to talk about in this game. And I want to get it done tonight because I just don't feel like talking about this game tomorrow. Let's move on with it, right? It's a meaningless preseason game. Unfortunate for a lot of back-end roster players that are fighting for a job, right? When it's just a poor performance. 27-2. Just a wild score to begin with. After a rough week of practice, the joint practice with the Broncos where they had our number, coming into this game and just owning on every single, stage of the game, offense, defense, special teams. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, I have so many more questions right now than I did before this game. Who is quarterback number 2, guys? Like, we all kind of knew Sean Clifford was struggling, but we were also like, okay, Michael Pratt looks promising. He could take the job from Sean Clifford. There's our quarterback number 2. I don't know if the quarterback number 2 is on the roster. After this tonight, the Packers may need to make some calls. Maybe call Ryan Tannehill's camp and see what he would want to be quarterback number 2, as crazy as that sounds. And here's my thought process on that. If Jordan Love goes down with a significant injury, we're done anyways, right? Like, we're done. But what if Jordan Love goes down with a small injury where he has to miss 1 or 2 weeks? And it's mid to late in the season where you're fighting for a playoff spot or playoff berth and you need a win. I don't know if one of Michael Pratt or Sean Clifford can get that done, truly. Ryan Tannehill probably could. Matt LaFleur coached with him, OC, Tennessee. It makes sense. There's a connection there. I think he could fill in kind of a Matt Flynn type of role, right? Fill in, maybe get a win to keep the playoff hopes alive mid to late season, whatever it may be. It's definitely a question. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. If you think the Packers should go another route and just find their second quarterback from free agency, a veteran, rather than continue with this, which was just awful tonight. Sean Clifford, 6 for 10, 43 yards, interception. I mean, that throw was abysmal on that interception, and I know there's a lot of Clifford supporters, but I don't know how you support that after this. I don't know how you support any quarterback, too, after that performance. Even Michael Pratt, started rough, did kind of pick it up as the game went on, but still nothing impressive. 10 for 16, 52 yards, 67.7 rating. Kind of needs to figure out how to put touch on the pass rather than just full speed ahead 24/7 where he's firing missiles on quick slants that are going through receivers' hands. The receivers weren't helping him, dropping a couple passes. It was just a rough game by this team overall tonight. Offense, defense, I guess the bright spots on offense, if I had to choose 2 players, Emmanuel Wilson and Malik Heath, even though Emmanuel Wilson definitely didn't run that well. 13 carries, 41 yards, and that's on the back of a very poor day from this offensive line as well. Another massive question mark I have right now is who is tackle number 3? Andre Dillard, wasn't bad last preseason game. I didn't think he was that bad this preseason game. But after him, man, that was rough to watch. Telfort, Jones, Glover, they were all getting walked out there, and it was bad. In terms of guard, Royce Newman played like the entire game at both guard spots. He was getting walked out there. Shocker, surprise. Lecitus Smith has done nothing good. The only bright spot on this offensive line all night, in my opinion, was Jacob Monk. He played right guard, he played center, and I thought he did a good job doing it. But there's a big question mark at tackle, and the Packers had Billy Turner in during practice, I think, last week. So maybe he ends up coming back and the Packers find their third tackle in Billy Turner, but it's a big question mark. Like, if one of Zach Tom or Rasheed Walker goes down, who's your tackle 3? Because a lot of people don't want it to be Andre Dillard, and after that, you really don't have a solid backup right now. You don't have Josh Nyman anymore. It could be Billy Turner. We don't know if Jordan Morgan could swing out there because he has yet to play. That's unfortunate. We didn't see Jordan Morgan in this game. We didn't see Edrin Cooper, 2 rookies that we've just been dying to see. Haven't seen those guys. It's unfortunate. In terms of receiving, again, the one bright spot, Malik Heath fighting for a 6th roster spot, definitely played a lot better than Grant DuBose today. When it was vice versa last week, Grant DuBose had a hell of a game. Had a couple drops today, didn't look good. Did have a really nice special teams tackle, so that was good. But Malik Heath, 3 for 22 was the leading receiver. It's crazy. Torrey, 2 for 17. Nice to see him get a couple catches, I guess. Emmanuel Wilson, 1 for 11. Ben Sims, 1 for 10. Bo Melton, 2 for 10. Again, I want to see more from Bo Melton after a rough showing last preseason game. You just want to see more from him. Jalen Wayne and Stanley both had a catch. Joel Wilson with a catch. I mean, Grant DuBose targeted twice and 0 catches. Quickly, before we go into the defensive takeaways, guys, I'm still giving away this signed Lynn Dickey jersey here. I'll show you the signature because it is a very, very clean signature. Thank you to Sleeper, who's the sponsor of this video. You guys can go check out Sleeper with the link down in the description. Use code BASS to get a first-time deposit match up to $100. Guys, if you want to support the channel, a great way to do so is support the sponsor. Sleeper is a great app for making your picks or playing fantasy football. They really have it all over there. And you can enter yourself in this giveaway by downloading Sleeper and making a first-time deposit with code BASS. All right, now moving on to the defense. Again, not a crazy amount of takeaways. First, I want to give credit where it's due. I thought Bo Nix looked excellent. I've been talking about him on this channel this week because obviously we had a joint practice with them. We're about to have a preseason game against them. And he's a guy that I really liked coming out of this draft, and he's been impressive, and in my opinion, will be the Broncos starting quarterback week 1. But the Broncos didn't have to do much on offense. Like, there's a lot of check downs, and again, this is a very vanilla defense and offense for the Packers, right? Adam Stenavich calling plays. That's not going to happen in a real game. I'm sure Jeff Hafley is calling a very, very vanilla defense. No exotic looks. That's definitely not happening. So I wouldn't be too worried about that, about the soft style type of defense. I don't think we're going to see that too often for this defense when the starters are out there in a real game sense. Now, if it starts to happen week 1, then we'll talk about it. But it was a lot of checkdowns, a lot of quick passes. Tim Patrick was our kryptonite. Our linebackers were getting torched over the middle. And when you look at our defensive stats and you see Tyron Hopper with 11 tackles, you say, wow, well, he must have had a good game. And he did against the run, in my opinion. I think he's been solid against the run. That's kind of been his limelight this whole training camp. Hey, he's been making stops against the run. And he had 11 tackles, and he was calling the plays after Eric Wilson checked out. He had the green dot and the mic in his helmet. But in coverage, man, he looked lost. I'm going to be completely honest. Tyron Hopper looked completely lost in coverage out there tonight. A lot of times it's dropping back way too far, playing really soft, not getting a hand on the tight end, not playing aggressive, not playing hands-on like he should have been, kind of allowing the catch to happen, coming up, making the tackle, right? You want to see a little bit more aggression there. He looked really, really lost in zone coverage, so hopefully that can get cleaned up when they watch tape this week. But I was impressed with him tackling. I was also impressed with Christian Welch. I think he was the most impressive linebacker tonight out of the guys that played significant amount of snaps. And if the Packers keep 6 linebackers, I think Welch will be the 6th. Raylan Goforth just continues to get bullied in both preseason games. Checked out with a concussion after getting trucked by Jarrett Stidham, which is just insane. I mean, that guy is not making the roster. Finally saw some Katana Ladapo action on defense. Last week only saw some special team snaps, and I was impressed. I was actually very impressed. It was late in the game, but he saw a lot of second half snaps, and he was around the line of scrimmage, roaming around the line of scrimmage as a box safety, and he was in on a bunch of tackles. Katana Ladapo, 4 total tackles, 3 of them were solo. I was impressed with him tonight, and I want to see more of him. You know, this Packers safety room has a ton of talent and a ton of depth. Other players that impressed me on defense, it was early on. Lucas Van Ness impressed me. I think he had a couple pressures. A lot of times I saw him just kind of beating his guy, getting around the quarterback and getting some pressures. Colby Wooden impressed me. Had a nice play against a screen where he kind of saw it, went to it right away. Stidham had to check it down into the ground. Brenton Cox, Aaron Mosby both had nice pressures. Brenton Cox had a sack. Aaron Mosby had a nice pressure on the one interception that ended up hitting the helmet of the offensive lineman. Christian Welch came up with the interception, so that was a positive. of the night on defense, even though it was the Broncos making that mistake by throwing the ball into one of their linemen's helmets. But a lot of missed tackles overall. Rough night by Kalen King, who I think had like 3 missed tackles. On one play, I saw him miss the tackle twice, which is crazy. A defensive back, K King, missing tackles. It's just, you don't want to see it. I also thought John Ford looked really nice. We've been hearing a lot about him this offseason. He was getting in the backfield quite a bit, and I think he outsnapped a lot of the other defensive linemen. Packers obviously just want to get more looks at him and see, hey, if we need to keep 6 interior defensive linemen, or do we need to? Obviously John Ford's been impressive, but will we keep 6? I don't think there's any way he makes it over Brooks or Wooden. I know some people on Twitter are circulating that Wooden's getting outsnapped by John Ford. I just think they wanted a further look at John Ford. I don't think it's any way that John Ford makes it over Wooden. But overall, just a very ugly game. And then on special teams, Greg Joseph missing an easy field goal. Just, again, another question mark, like, who is our kicker? Are they on the roster? Anders, I don't even think touched the football. So, in my opinion, it's still going to be Anders week 1. And then to end the game, the muffed punt by Dimitri Stanley. Just icing on the cake for this awful, awful game. Guys, I don't want to make this a long video because I don't need to rant this much about a preseason game. Get it over with. It's done. Move on to the next week. Joint practice Thursday with the Ravens. Preseason game Saturday against the Ravens. Hopefully, it can be a better showing for these guys to make their case to make the 53-man roster. Cut down day is 8 days away, guys. These guys need to show that, hey, I deserve to be on the roster. And honestly, I don't know if anyone did tonight. I really, really don't know if any fringe roster players made their case tonight. And that is concerning. But I appreciate you guys coming by to the video. If you could, please leave a like down below. Oh, man, that was boring. That was very, very boring to watch. If you guys stuck through it and you were part of my live stream, I appreciate it. It's very boring to watch. At least I had you guys to talk to during it. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.